Hey guys, this is Daniel, Dr. D again, and I wanted to tell you guys about an experience my friend Bob and I had at a store in downtown East Los Angeles called Common Wave. So Bob and I decided to go down there to check out the Klipsch Ojas speakers, and I think they're limited to about a quantity of 100, so it's a limited edition, but they're really expensive. They're $8,500, and I was pretty amazed at how expensive these are, and I think it's because this gentleman that runs Ojas is all his R&D that went into developing this. They are basically I think he's just kind of carrying the tradition of the old school efficient Altec speakers, which came in a variety of horns. I mean, it's a huge history. There's some people that are very, very knowledgeable at it. But anyway, this is Ojas speaker is very similar to the Altec speakers, and that's one of the things that's fascinating about it. And so we went down. I want to tell you about our experience listening to this. I don't know, they had some exotic tube amplifier running this thing. Very nice people. I want to thank Common Wave for sharing that time. Letting us listen to the Ojas speakers. Now, we played several jazz tracks. The Ojas speaker, as you can see, are similar in size to the Klipsch Heresy. But what's interesting about this Ojas speaker and why I'm so fascinated by it is because that horn on the top, which has a lot of good upper mid-range and top end, and it's very effortless. And I really like horns. And the size of that horn, it's like almost like a miniature scale, kind of a scaled down La Scala speaker. And that upper mid-range, it's a two-way speaker. There's plenty of information about it. It's got attenuators on the top that you can adjust the decibel levels. That's basically, my understanding is that's what that is for, is just to raise or lower the decibel level on the top end. My friend Bob went with me. Bob has the open baffle speakers that you've seen. I've had open baffles as well. I actually have a pair. I don't use them because I don't have enough space in this room. But he was flabbergasted at the sound, and I agree that the sound in the upper end is really nice. Now I want to tell you one of the reasons why I was a little I think what it is I still kind of left with second thoughts about the idea, but I have to explain why, and that is because that place is huge. Now, the room I'm sitting in here is pretty small. It's, I don't know, it's 13 by 8 or 9 feet or something like that. And they have 1,800 square feet, so they have a big room to fill. But we were in close proximity to the Ojas speakers, as you can see in the video. And you can definitely tell there is a palpable presence to the upper end. And it is a very smooth speaker. I was very impressed with the top end. It was it was nice. I mean, it was really nice. I walked away with a very good impression of the speaker. What really didn't sell me on the speaker is the fact that in this size room, all I have to do is raise my Heresys up a little bit. And then what that does in this particular room, as you'll see in the video, I've raised the speakers a little bit, I think about 6 inches or so. And that little bit makes a difference versus the tilted risers. So I removed the tilted risers on the Heresy, brought them up. And the reason I did that is to hear the upper mid-range and the top end more so. But what's important is the amp that I'm using, that Dynaco SD70, is extremely warm, smooth amp. And it is such a killer combo. I'm telling you, that amp right now is just a marvel of engineering. Kenny Russell that does that amplifier, I'm so flabbergasted with this amp, and I'm so happy with it because I just love the way it works with the Heritage series. It's just so smooth and silky with the new stands. The reason I got a better result in this room than I did there, and remember, it's 2 different rooms, so to be fair, but the room makes such a huge and monumental difference. The way you position your speakers, your seating position, the way you drive them, in my opinion, makes such a huge difference. And I think one of the reasons I still walked away kind of like questioning, like, hey, is it Ojas really let's put it this way. My room, in my opinion, sounded better than what I heard in their room using their exotic amp. I can't even remember the name of the thing, but I mean, it was nice stuff. You know, they have really exotic gear there. But I think what it is, the size of this room, it's quiet in this room, and I can get a real palpable top end and mid range by raising my speakers. And by driving it with a good amplifier, I just like, wow, I'm so happy with the way this room sounds right now. And I still love what I have, you know. Nevertheless, I'm going to work on making a pair of Ojas myself if I can get the parts. I still want to try and build a DIY Ojas speaker because I still love the concept. I love the idea of the upper mid-range in the horn. And it's just an endeavor I want to challenge myself to do. And I really, you know, when I watch the videos with the Ojas speakers, I love the concept. I love this old school mentality. I love how this guy thinks out of the box. I love how he's into doing his own projects. So yeah, I'm kind of at this point now where I want to start doing some DIY horn speakers. So I want to tell you a little experience that I had. Apologize for a little bit of barking. Coda, my little bulldog, he's, there's another dog walking by. But anyway, what I wanted to tell you is I did bring my Klipsch Forte into this room. And believe it or not, the Heresy actually sound better than the Klipsch Forte in this room. And the reason I feel this happens is because it could be the height of the Forte from my seating position. I would probably have to adjust the height on that, but the way it currently sits, the tweeter is almost ear level when I'm sitting in a conventional chair, and I can just hear the tweeter and the mid-range separately. And I don't mean separately in a good way. I mean it like in like a good imaging kind of way. I just mean that I need to be further away from that speaker in order for it to sound smoother for the transition from the top end to the mid-range to the bottom end. And the Heresy just, I'm starting to realize that big speakers just don't seem to work in small rooms. I don't know, maybe that's just my experience. I can't say that, you know, that's an absolute fact, but I can only go based on what my empirical listening experiences are between listening to my Heresy and to my Forte in this room. So, but I feel like I have the Heresy set up in a position where the height is between what it would be on the risers and what the Forte is. So it's kind of like in the middle. And it just seems to be a pretty sweet spot for the upper mid-range. And the reason I'm discussing this upper mid-range and why I'm so consumed with this right now is because when you listen to jazz, I love that you can use low wattage amps, nice tube amps, and maybe if you want to use a single-ended amp or a push-pull type of amp. The Dynaco SD70 I'm using in this room is a push-pull amp, very smooth one, as I stated earlier. But it is such it just sounds so pretty and so sweet in this room. I'm just like so pleased with it. So, but you know, and another thing too, I'm using a Heresy 2. Those of you know I've done a lot of comparisons between the Heresy 4 and the Heresy 2. And I want to explain something to you guys because there's a lot of, I kind of describe them as fanboys. You know, it's like anything the Klipsch comes out with, people just immediately want, you know, assume is better. And maybe for some, it really genuinely is a better thing. I like the Heresy 4 at my friend Mirko's. When I took my Heresy 2s to his place, I actually preferred his Heresy 4s. But in a small room like this, I don't like the 4s. And I will tell you why. A couple of reasons. One, they're not as efficient. And they've already done some measurements. I think they're 3 or 4 dB lower in efficiency than what the Heresy 2 is. The second thing is that they do not produce as easy a holographic soundstage as what the 2s do when you listen to them side by side. The 4s almost sound a little bit, I can tell they've rolled off the top end on the 4s. The reason I like the 4s at Mirko's better than the 2s, the Heresy 2s, is because his room is untreated. His room is also bigger. So in order to appreciate the Heresy 4, and the reason I'm talking about this is because I'm talking about the Ojas, the Heresy 2, and the Heresy 4. These are all very similar in size, same boxes roughly. But the reason is that Mirko's room is a lot bigger. And what happens is, in order to hear that speaker good, he has to turn it up louder to fill the room, which in turn starts getting the bass going. You have to remember on the Heresy 4, when you play at low volume, it doesn't produce the bass like a Forte will at low volume. The Forte has an audible presence in the bass, whereas the Heresy 4 does not, and the Heresy 2 does not either. That's why I use the Rel T0 with it. And when I play at low volume, all I have to do is adjust the volume of the bass on the Rel, that little Rel T0, to hear that bass at low volume levels. So it wouldn't help me to have a Heresy 4 in this room. It would just do nothing for me. I'm telling you, in my opinion, it is so important to consider the room. I think people spend a lot of time getting overly concerned about speakers themselves or amplifiers themselves, and I think a ton of this is going to be really predicated on the rooms. The size of the room, the way the room is dampened. It's just so huge. I can't overstate it enough, how much you have to consider it. So, you can see I favor each speaker depending on the room. And I think that is important to consider that. So anyway, I hope this video gives you a little bit of help. And I really do like the Ojas speaker. I think the concept is really cool. I love this thing about the upper mid-range with that horn. It's just so beautiful, so effortless. I'm not so concerned about the bottom end. Some people are saying, well, that it doesn't produce a lot of bass. By the way, it images well. It has beautiful sound stage. But I'm not worried about the bass. I'm using subs anyway. I'm using that Rel right now. Bob's using open baffle subs. I'm starting to realize how important, calibrating subs are. It can really help. People say that it sounds separated from the music. If in my opinion, if that is the case, you're probably not setting it up right. I feel like I got my subs dialed so beautifully. I think Bob does. He's done such a stupendous job dialing his new subs. It's too bad that OCD Mike wasn't at the room the way Bob has it set up now, because it's so much better than what it was before. Man, I have to do another updated video on that sound system because Bob's done a stupendous job, so I'll get on with that. In the meantime, I'd love to hear your opinions and thoughts. Feel free to share a comment. Even if you disagree with something, I have no problem with it. I don't delete comments. I think I only deleted a couple of comments because guys were being just unconstructively nasty, a couple of people. But I generally, if you have any disagreements, I have no problem at all. I'll be happy to post that stuff and listen to what other people have to say. So, all right, till next time.